Welcome to Midlife Initiation. I'm David Evans, recording again uh, in the dark outside my son's basketball practice. For some reason, he doesn't like me going to the practices. He loves me going to the games. Apparently, I cheer the loudest, and everyone can hear me yelling in my Australian accent. Actually, that's how I can always tell when a dad is Australian. I see the way he plays with his kids and how loud they are together. So that's how I show up as a dad too. Anyway, it's been a tough week in our household, and this is the perfect time to introduce the concept of midlife crisis versus midlife initiation. And sometimes a midlife initiation does feel like a midlife crisis. So I am very much sandwich generationing right now. In the middle of dealing with some serious, like, brain degeneration stuff with my dad, and um, some bullying with one of our sons. And yeah, it's tough to be in midlife and to be a part of the sandwich generation. So let's talk about that. I'm going to read another section from the book. This chapter is called Midlife Crisis or Midlife Initiation. Why does most of modern psychology seek to pathologize normal human experience? Fuck that. Reality is that at some point between the ages of 40 and 65, many people hit a wall. The external markers of success might be present: the job, the house, the family, the accolades. And yet, something inside begins to unravel. Repressed desires flood to the surface, and often with desire, regret, a grieving for what might have been. You might look in the mirror and feel like a stranger. You might feel flat, numb, irritable, or sad. You might catch yourself thinking, is this it? Or worse, have I wasted my life? This is what our culture calls a midlife crisis. What is a midlife crisis? Coined in the 1960s by psychologist Elliot Jacques, a midlife crisis refers to the emotional, psychological, and spiritual upheaval that can occur in midlife adulthood, often between the ages of 40 and 65. And here I am sitting at 50. It tends to center on identity, purpose, mortality, with holes forming in long-held stories that are the foundation of our ego structures. The carefully constructed self, the achiever, or not, as the story may say, begins to crack under the weight of time and reality. A midlife crisis can look like impulsive decisions, quitting jobs, buying sports cars, extramarital affairs, depression, anxiety or numbness, burnout or boredom with career and relationships, rage, withdrawal, or unexplained grief, just feeling like life is meaningless or already over. It's often mocked or minimized, treated as a cliche or a weakness, but behind the stereotypes is something very real and very human. A death of who you thought you were, a call to transformation, a call to midlife initiation. What if a midlife crisis isn't a breakdown, but a rite of passage? What if we treated midlife like a form of transition akin to puberty? What if midlife isn't the beginning of the end, but the end of the beginning? We call it a midlife crisis, but what you're actually facing, and I'm actually facing, is a midlife initiation, a deep psychological, emotional, and spiritual turning point where the ego loosens and the truth begins to stir. Initiation begins with disorientation. Old stories stop working, old strategies stop delivering, old masks become too heavy to wear. This disorientation is not pathological. Fuck the DSM, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, which is a classic example of genius ego. More to come on genius ego later in the book. For pathologizing so many human experiences that, when seen as opportunities for growth, are hugely beneficial. The number of mental disorders listed in the DSM has grown significantly from 106 in the first edition to almost 300 in the fourth. This increase is largely due to a shift toward a more symptom-based medical disease model, which is, quite frankly, a fundamental misunderstanding of the human condition. People are not problems to be solved. Far from being something to fix, midlife disorientation can be sacred. It's the opportunity for a deeper kind of maturity, which the spiritual teacher Jed McKenna calls human adulthood. And my former teacher, Harish Wallace, calls basic sanity. It's the shift from achievement to essence, from ego performance to real human presence. Midlife initiation invites you to reevaluate your values, reconnect with buried desires, grieve what will never be, bring forward what's truly resonant, reclaim your vitality, your voice, your truth. This isn't time to double down on the mask. It's time to remove it. Instead of buying a new identity, I invite you to walk these 6 paths to freedom with me, uncovering what's beneath all identities. At midlife, no matter what path you're on, you seem to reach an intersection. One direction loops endlessly through performance, distraction, and denial, deeper into ego and away from reality. The other direction descends and deepens into feeling, into inquiry, into truth, and emerges with clarity and freedom. The first direction leads to stagnation and collapse. The other direction embraces midlife initiation into being fully alive. This book and the 6 paths framework are an offering to take the second, less trodden direction. On each initiation path, you'll name the ego structure that no longer serves you. You'll meet and befriend the fears and the shadows beneath the mask of ego. You'll walk from attempts at self-authorship into self-liberation. Midlife is not a problem to fix. It's a rite of passage to honor. And next time, I will be going through the 6 masks, a map of the roles we mistake for self. So join me then.